Hello class. In this video we're going to begin section 2.5. In 2.5 we cover inequalities, line graphs, and we're going to solve linear equations or linear inequalities in one variable. Okay, so let's take a look. The first thing we should do is really just go over the notation here. Inequality notation. If I have an inequality sign pointing to the left, we'll call that is less than. If it's pointing to the right, we'll say is greater than. Pointing to the left with a line underneath would be is less than or equal to, and pointing to the right with a line underneath is greater than or equal to. And traditionally, we put the smaller value on the left and the greater value on the right. Okay. So now that we have that out of the way, we can start to talk about line graphs. So you might want to take a moment just to read what's in this yellow box that gives us the instructions on constructing a line graph. Maybe you want to pause the video for a minute and take a look. I'll wait. So if we're asked to draw a line graph for the inequality x is greater than 5, you notice that we go to the value 5 and we draw an open circle, right? It's not filled in. And we're saying that x is going to be greater than 5, right? So the inequality always points to the smaller number. So x can represent any number that's bigger than 5, right? So the inequality closes on the bigger number and points to the smaller number. All right, so 6, 7, 8, going out to infinity would all be valid. So you would draw a line pointing to the right with an open circle. If you look at example 2, it says x is less than or equal to 17 over 2, or 17 halves. So if we identify 17 over 2, which is about 8.5, right? If I divide 17 in 2, I should get 8.5, right? So it's just before the number 9. And notice how we have a closed dot, right? Because there's a line under this inequality symbol, right? The previous example, there was no line. So this was just x is greater than 5. But this is x is less than or equal to, right? The or equal to, we use that because there's a line underneath the inequality sign. Okay? Example 3. All right, so now we have x is greater than negative 9 over 8. Right, so 9 over 8 is just a bit bigger than 1, right? 8 over 8 is 1. So 9 over 8 is a little bit bigger than 1, but it's negative. So it's a little bit past negative 1, right? So we find negative 9 over 8. It's an open circle because there's no line under the inequality sign, and x is everything to the right of negative 9 over 8. Okay, let's take a look at the next page. Now we talk about compound inequalities, right? What if we have more than one value? So for example, if you look at example 4, we have a value that says x is less than 0, but at the same time, x is bigger than negative 3. So what this really means to me is the value of x is somewhere between negative 3 and 0. So if I were to draw a number line, right, here's my negative 3, here's 0, we're saying x is somewhere in between. And because there's no equal sign or bar underneath the inequality, we keep all the zeros, the dots open. We don't shade the dots. On the next page, they give us some instructions on how to construct a line graph for a compound inequality. Again, maybe you want to pause the video and take a look at the instructions here. When you're done, we can take a look at example 5. Here we're saying x is greater than or equal to negative 5, and at the same time, x is going to be less than negative 2. So if you draw a number line, right, where you have negative 2 and negative 5, we're saying the value of x is somewhere between negative 2 and negative 5. And notice we have a closed dot on negative 5 because of the line or the bar that's underneath the inequality sign. And we have an open circle for negative 2 because there is no bar under the inequality sign. So take a look at the practice exercises. This is really good practice. This is definitely a great test or a quiz question. So let's take a peek here. First, we read the words. It says x is less than or equal to negative 8, right? X is less than or equal to negative 8. So let's draw that. I'm going to take my line tool. Hopefully I'll draw a somewhat reasonable line. And then I'm going to get my pencil tool out, and I'm going to maybe label this as maybe 1 and 0 and so on. So you can see I drew a number line, and I wanted to make sure I cover -8 in here. And so it says x is less than or equal to -8. So I'm going to draw a closed dot at -8. Okay, and then my line, since x is less than is to the left, so I can just do something that looks like that. And that satisfies the number line for what we have here in words. And then using symbols, we would say something like x is less than or equal to, let me make that a little nicer, less than and equal to -8. Okay? For this next problem, we're going to first write what we see in symbols. They give us the number line. Unlike problem 1, they gave us words. Problem 2, they don't give us the words or symbols, but we have to be able to develop the symbols and words from the picture. So it looks like x is greater than -8. So I would write, let's grab our pencil, x, well really, let's do it this way. We'll start with the smaller number. -8, right? X is going to be greater than -8, right? Remember, we always point to the smaller value, so the -8 is smaller. I don't add a line like this because it doesn't say greater than or equal, right? Because the dot is open. So open dot means no bar underneath my inequality symbol. And then using words, I would just say x is greater than -8. Right? It would look something like this, right? X is greater than -8. Number 3, they give us the symbols. We have to come up with the picture and the words. So for the words, I'm going to say x is greater than -4 and less than 1, inclusive. Or you could say x is between -4 and -1, including -4 and -1. Right, so I wrote x is between -4 and -1, including -4 and -1. I wrote this including part because of the bar under each of the inequality signs. Now let me draw a graph to represent this. Right, so it's going to look something like this. Closed dot on -4, a closed dot on -1, and I'm going to just kind of shade in here between to show that my value is between -4 and -1. So I'm going to stop here, and I'll create another video to move through the rest of this chapter. Thank you for watching.